Hey there, Super Friends. It's Joey with Last Point Gaming. Today is Wednesday, March 2nd, 2022. How y'all doing? I think this week we're going to talk about Phasmo. It's like, I need something light and easy to talk about. And then next week go a little heavier, or I may just keep kicking it down the road. I don't know. But let's talk Phasmophobia. There have been some like really huge changes with that game since I last talked about it. I don't think I can play it anymore. I think it's too much for me now. But oh, can I watch streamers play that game? So if you're newer here, Phasmophobia, I've done episodes on it before. It's a ghost hunting game. And that's how I ended up, well, becoming aware of it, I guess. I don't really interact with the horror genre much. Brain really takes that shit and runs with it. So, this like popped up in husband's feed, and he was like, oh, wouldn't that be a fun game to play with the wife? We're paranormal investigators, and we're gonna go do paranormal investigative things. And then he watched a little gameplay of it and realized that the ghost can fucking kill you. He was like, the spousal unit may not enjoy that so much. But we talked about it, and I watched, I actually watched Happy Capster play it. I haven't gotten to hang out in their stream in so long, and it's so sad because I really enjoyed hanging out in their stream, and they play all kinds of cool shit. And this was the first time I saw somebody play Phasmophobia. And they played it like I play it. And they're like, oh, what was that noise? Oh, no. So, husband and I got it, and then we eventually got for Sage and for Bird, though Bird only played with us a couple times. Sage is kind of an autocrat when it comes to these sorts of things, and gets a little bossy. But, yeah, so husband got bored with it pretty quick because Sage and I play it in like the lowest risk way possible because it's scary. But Sage and I think last I looked, I had like 150 hours logged on this game. It came out back in 2020, so it's been out for 2 years. But I mean, for a while, like, whenever Sage and I played a game together, this is what we played. So, yeah, it was fun. But yeah, all the changes they made to it, and they've increased the difficulty, right? Because that's what makes games interesting, I guess. It's like Elden Ring looks really fucking cool, but somebody compared it to Dark Souls, and I'm like, ooh, can't touch that. No, it was politely requested that I never play Dark Souls again because rage. Pure and unadulterated rage. I insulted my Xbox's lineage. You can't pause that game. Like, that just kind of says it all. Anyway, So, but I mean, I got my $20 worth of enjoyment out of this game, which is about how much I paid for it. And it's in early access. I think it's still in early access. So, you know those are subject to change. There are two streamers that I pretty frequently watch, though. I haven't hopped into Ash's stream in a while. He used to be Zero Wins, spelled with an X, which I thought was incredibly clever. And InSim. So, okay. Updates. Probably one of the biggest, most interesting changes to the game. Like, they've added new ghost types, they've added new evidence types, they've reworked, since they have a lead artist now, CJ. CJ has done a lot of great things with the graphics in the game, because when DK, who's the developer behind it, originally built it, he just used prepackaged Entity. There's a word, and I just lost it. Shit. It's not artifacts, but we'll go with artifacts. Like, he didn't really customize much with them. Just use the prepackaged bits that were available through the Entity framework. And CJ has just done an amazing job at reworking the things and just really adding a richness to the visuals in the game. But one of the big adds was the cursed objects. Now, I'm not sure if on amateur and intermediate gameplay modes you always get them, because the last time Sage and I played, they still spawned in random places. There were, a handful of spawn locations for cursed items in each location. And any of the cursed items could spawn in them, and some of them are harder to see. And of course, we didn't know all the locations. They have since changed that, so now each cursed item has a specific spawn location in each map. So when you get there, if you want, you can run through the map and check I think there's 5 or 6 of them. We'll go through it. You can check the locations where they should spawn until you find one, if they are in every map. So they redid the spirit board, and the spirit board is one of the cursed objects. And I know previously, if you were on professional, you always got a spirit board. But if you were on intermediate and amateur, it was a random spawn chance. So I don't know if the cursed items follow the same logic, or if there's always one cursed item in the location. Because there were a couple maps we played that we couldn't find it, but again, that's when they were a more widespread variety of spawn locations. And like I said, some of them are a little hard to see. So there's the voodoo doll, right? And the game always had the voodoo dolls, just only in 3 maps. The 2 farmhouse maps each had 2 voodoo dolls, and the Willow Street house, which is one of the newer maps, but not the newest map, and it's been part of the game for a while now, had 1. And they didn't really do much. You could take a photo of them for interaction, and I think if you, fucked with them, it upset the ghost. So they redid that, and now the voodoo doll is a cursed item, and it has pins kind of halfway stuck into it, and when you activate it, it pushes a pin the whole way in, and causes either an interaction or ghost event, unless it's the heart pin. And every time you activate it, it is a chance you get the heart pin. Of course, until that's the only pin left. Or if you activate it with no sanity, I think it's automatically the heart pin. Each activation chunks your sanity for like, I don't know, it's like 15% or something like that. And when the heart pin goes in, you get a cursed hunt. Now, cursed hunts, each cursed object can or does cause a cursed hunt. And on professional and the new mode they added, Nightmare, I know the cursed hunts are longer. Like, I think a regular hunt on those modes is like a minute. A cursed hunt is like 90 seconds. And you only have a 1 second grace period as opposed to the usual, it's like 3 to 5. And if you're playing in a group, usually during a hunt, once the ghost kills somebody, the hunt is over. Not with a cursed hunt. They will keep going for the full duration of the hunt. So the ghost can wipe an entire group in one cursed hunt. Now, I don't know if these same things apply on intermediate and amateur. Because Sage and I only played a couple of games with the newer updates. Sage got a VR headset for Christmas, so yeah, he had to try Phasmo in VR, which apparently is a pain in the ass to play and also terrifying, which I can imagine. I was helping like get this headset set up, and I did like the roller coaster like pre-built thing to like get a feel for it, and I almost threw up. So, and I haven't been on a roller coaster in ages, but the last time I was on one, I did not get sick. So, yeah, no, I can imagine it is strange. I don't think I like VR. I think I already have enough difficulties holding on to reality some days. So, no. Anyway. So that's the voodoo doll. It can kind of help you find the ghost room, because if you find it quickly when you start a contract and start pushing pins, you can listen for the sounds that indicate where the interaction is occurring to kind of narrow down the ghost room. But, I mean, the ghosts also path a lot more than they used to back in the very beginning. So, it might not be the ghost room. Next, we'll talk about the cursed mirror, which looks fucking amazing. Like, seriously, CJ is very, very good at what he does. So, the cursed mirror, as soon as you look in it, it chunks you for like 75% of your sanity. And the longer you look in it, it keeps trickling out your sanity. Once you hit 0, it breaks, and it starts a cursed hunt. Looking in it, it will show you the ghost room. Like, you will see the ghost room through it, and it kind of rotates around. So, for watching somebody like Insim, who has played thousands of hours of this game, and that's most of what he streams. Now, he has started moving on to, sprinkling in other games. But for, a year, it feels like, he almost solely streamed this game for about, 4 to 5 hours a day. So he has, an encyclopedic knowledge. As soon as he holds up the mirror, he can almost immediately, almost every single time, identify what room he's seeing. Which is pretty interesting. So, yeah, it's a good one to find at the beginning of your contract, because even if the ghost has pathed out of the room, it won't show you where the ghost currently is. it will show you the ghost room, like their favorite spot, which is where you find all the evidence. So, pretty cool. Then there is the summoning circle. So what, we're on 3 now? I feel like I'm missing one, but anyway, there's the summoning circle. So it's a pentagram on the floor, of course, with, you know, demonic sigils or whatever. And it has a candle at each of the 5 points of the star. And is it actually a Baphomet? It might be a Baphomet. I'm not sure. Anyway, neither here nor there. So each candle will chunk you for like 15%, I think, of your sanity. And once you light all 5, the ghost appears in the summoning circle, and you can get your ghost photo, and that's cool. And it writhes in the binding circle for, I don't know, like 5-10 seconds, and then it starts the cursed hunt. The one of the new ghost types they've added is the twins, where it's 2 entities. There's the primary entity, which is in the ghost room, that starts in the ghost room, and then there's the decoy. The decoy can hunt you. So with the twins and the summoning circle, it has happened to Insim that he's lit the summoning circle, gotten his ghost photo and everything, and he gets murdered because while the primary entity is like writhing in the circle and shit, the decoy entity has started a hunt and kills him. But probably one of the least interesting, not gonna lie. Oh, I was missing one. Like, it's cool and all, it's a neat visual effect, but yeah, it makes the ghost appear, and then the ghost tries to kill you. Like, meh. I don't think it, like, adds a great amount to the game. But it's neat. And if, you know, you need a ghost photo, or you need the ghost to step in salt, because if you put salt in the middle of the circle before you light the candles, when it spawns, it will, of course, step in the salt and trigger the objective. Then there's the new and improved spirit board, which also looks really cool, but it doesn't, like, light up like the old one did, which is a little sad, because the old one looked pretty cool. I gotta pause y'all real quick. So yeah, like, it looks cool, but not as cool as the old one looked, in my opinion. You have to say goodbye to this one, whereas the other one, you could either, like, click it and turn it off, or you could just walk away from it. That was a little dangerous, though, because the way the old spirit board worked was you activate it, right, and you ask a question. And you either get an answer, and unless you were dealing with a demon, that takes, like, 10% of your sanity. Or you get a failure, where the lights all flicker and the board turns itself off, and you don't get an answer. That chunks you for 40% of your sanity. So, the new one, you can't fail to get an answer. But the old one, if you, like, left it on and walked away from it, sometimes it would pick up on audio as, like, you know, like random shit you're saying. It would pick up on that as a question. And so you could be slowly trickling out your sanity and not realize it. Or you could fail a couple times and just totally kill your sanity. Okay, so what other cool things about the board? They have added to the questions you can ask. You can ask, you know, where are you? And it will, I think it actually tells you where the ghost is at that moment, which might not necessarily be the ghost room. Which I think is how the board always worked. with that question. You can ask it, how old are you? How long ago did you die? You know, all the questions you used to be able to ask it. But now you can also ask it where the bone is, and it will tell you. You can ask, why are you here? How did you die? And you can say hide and seek. And when you do that, it will start counting down from 10, and when it hits 0, the cursed hunt, like the board breaks apart and the cursed hunt starts. Also, if you use it and then don't say goodbye and just walk away, it will shatter and the cursed hunt will start. So it's got more utility than it used to have, and it already had a lot of utility before. And I think every question still chunks you for 15%. And like all the other cursed objects, if you interact with them with 0 sanity, except for, I think, the tarot cards, and I guess the summoning circle doesn't really do anything different. They, like, implode and a cursed hunt starts. And same thing with the board. If you ask a question when you're at 0% sanity, it will, bust it. I gotta pause y'all again real quick. So yeah, that's the new spirit board. Being able to ask where the bone is at is pretty nice, especially on the larger maps. Now, I never played the larger maps because I'm a scaredy cat. But I have watched a couple streamers play on them a lot, and finding the bone, like, that was just something they never bothered with. They're like, if we happen to, like, trip over it, sure, but we're not looking for it. Though, quick side note, before we go through the last couple cursed possessions, they changed the bone models. Now it's a random bone model. Like, you can get a skull, you can get a spine, you can get a whole ass rib cage or pelvis, a femur, hand, foot, which is something I had said way back, that it would be kind of neat if you got to find, like, different bones. It wasn't always the same bone model. And before it was like a perfect little bleached white bone, and now they're, covered in gore and shit. So that's cool. Okay. Next, the music box. I'm not 100% certain exactly how the music box works. It is one of the more boring of the cursed possessions, and I don't get to hang in Sim's live stream as much as I used to. So I more watch the games that, like, he edits and bundles up to put out on YouTube. And there aren't very many music box games, because it is one of the more boring objects to interact with. So you turn it on, and I'm sure it chunks your sanity at the initial activation and then trickles it out, like the mirror and everything. You turn it on, and the ghost will sing along with it, so it can help you find the ghost room. However, after you reach 0 sanity, it stops and the cursed hunt starts. Or, if you are close enough to the ghost, once the ghost reaches it. Because if you're close enough, it will move towards it. And once it comes into contact with the music box, it starts a cursed hunt. So there's just very little interaction to be had with it. I don't think you can turn it off once you've started it. can, after you start it, set it down and walk away, and it will stop. Like, you have to be close enough to it for it to drain your sanity. But yeah, all in all, it's just kind of meh. It's, you know, a kind of creepy song it plays. I remember when Sage and I discovered that some of the ghosts sing. It was the first time either of us could recall interacting with it. I think we were on Tanglewood, and the ghost room was the garage. And towards the end of the mission, we were trying to, like, achieve the last couple things by standing just inside the doorway. Because then if a hunt would start, if you were in the right position, the door would slam shut and push you out. And with a ghost that was in the garage in Tanglewood, if you don't get pushed out, by the time the ghost gets around to the front where you're at, you should have been able to get to that hall closet that's right in that front hallway and hide there. Anyway, yeah, we were just kind of like doing that thing where we stand like right on the threshold, and I could swear I heard some weird music, and I didn't know if it was like audio matrixing, like it was just sounds in the house that like Brain was trying to arrange into a pattern that made sense. Brain does weird shit, and I can't always explain it. But no, some of the ghosts would sing when they appeared. Anyway, and I think the last cursed object, I think there's only the 6 of them, is the tarot cards, which are by far the scariest and most rewarding cursed objects to play with. Okay, so each deck has 10 cards in it, and there are repeats. And each card you pull is random, one of these 10 cards. Now, some cards have a higher chance of occurrence than others. Like, your most common ones are the Tower, which forces an interaction. And with the objects that force interaction, like the cards and the voodoo doll, you can actually force an evidence interaction. So, like, if it's a writing ghost and you have a writing book in the room, one of the interactions it can force is writing in the book. If you have a dots projector, that's one of the interactions it can force. So that's kind of cool. The Hermit traps the ghost in the room. Like, it binds the ghost to the room for, it's like 90 seconds that it can't wander. Wheel of Fortune, when you pull a card, you see it, and then it kind of like burns up. Not really burns, but like there's a particle effect and it disintegrates. With Wheel of Fortune, if as it disintegrates it's red, it chunks you for 15% of your sanity. If it's green, it gives you 15% back. The Sun will completely heal your sanity, put you back at 100%, and the Moon will take it all away and put you at 0. The Devil card forces a ghost event, like the ghost to appear, death, cursed hunt, High Priestess. So I think we're down to the 2 lowest occurring, and there's one more kind of card. The High Priestess gives you it. Okay, if you're playing multiplayer and one of your players has already died, the High Priestess will revive them. If you're solo or playing multiplayer and nobody's died yet, it gives an extra life. So the next death that would occur, the person dies and then revives. And then there's the Hanged Man, and you just die. Right after the card disintegrates, you get the animation of like the hands coming up on the screen, the same death animation that there always has been with this game. hands come up on your screen and like come towards you, and it's like the ghost strangles you and or breaks your neck. I'm not really entirely sure what the mechanic is there. Yeah, the hangman just kills you. No chance to run, no chance to hide, no chance to do anything. You just die. And then there is the last card is the Fool. Any card you draw, you will see a card, but sometimes it disintegrates in like a purple color, and you see the full card behind it, and then the full card disintegrates. If you pull tarot cards during a hunt, they will all be full cards. I don't know if you can pull them outside of the house, and I imagine if you can, they will also all be full cards. Yeah, the cursed objects, I don't think you can pull them outside of the house, because all the other cursed objects you cannot activate outside of the house. So, yeah, they're pretty cool. Like I said, I know if you're on professional or nightmare mode, there is always a cursed object every map. And they have changed it. Each cursed object has a set spawn place. Now, it's different for each object on the map, but basically you can go check the 6 spots until you find one. Oh, and the cursed mirror, when it breaks, like, just everything about that mirror is, graphically speaking, fucking amazing. Like, good job, CJ. That, it looks fantastic. Let's see here. What other updates have we gotten? Like I said, they added a whole slew of ghost types. I think we're up to like 20 ghost types now. Like, before we had Rev, Mare, Demon, Wraith, Spirit, Shade, Poltergeist, Oni, Banshee, Phantom, and I think that was it. And now they're like, you got the Raiju, you have the Yokai, the Hantu, the Twins, the Mimic. So the Mimic's really cool, though, again, another reason why I don't think this game is so much for me to actually play anymore. The Mimic, as the name would imply, can mimic other ghost types, but fully mimic them. So, the Banshee used to have the rare ability to hunt at any sanity. It was the only ghost that, yes, there was actually a chance, if you were playing on professional, where you had no, grace period upon entering the location, you could theoretically walk in and immediately get hunted. They have since moved that ability to the Demon, and also moved the Banshee's weakness to the Demon, in that the Banshee's weakness was, it was more affected by the crucifixes. Every other ghost, they work on like a 3-meter range. For the Banshees, it used to be the Banshees, now it's the Demon. It works for a 5-meter range. If it tries to start a hunt in that range, instead it uses a charge on crucifix. Each crucifix has 2 charges. Initially, the crucifix would just disappear after the second one, which was a little unsettling. Then they changed it to, after the first charge, like, one arm of the cross disappeared, and then the second time, the second arm disappeared, so you were left with a stick, and some called them Jesus sticks. Now it's, like, it almost looks like, you know, the first arm of the cross has been burned off and, like, into the body of the cross, and it still looks smoldery. Oh my god, words are hard. And then when the second arm burns off, it also burns off, like, most of the top point of the cross, so it looks really cool. So yeah, they moved that to the demon. The Banshee still locks on to a player in multiplayer, that it has a designated prey and will actually walk past other players during a hunt to pursue its chosen prey. However, if when the hunt starts, its chosen prey is not in the, like, inside the location, you know, is out in the truck or whatever, it'll pick a different one. So you can't scam it like that, unfortunately. How did I get there? Other reworkings I know they've done. Oh, and the Banshee now has a Banshee scream that you can only hear on the paramic. And I don't know, it's a little lackluster. Like, I feel like the Banshee really got powered down. Like, so the behavior stuff... Oh, I was talking about the Mimic. That's how I got there. We'll get back to that in a second. The behavior stuff's really cool, especially on Nightmare Mode, where you only get 2 pieces of evidence, except in the case of the Mimic. But we'll get back to that in a second. So you have to use the ghost behaviors to narrow down, like, which of the remaining options it is when you get your 2 pieces of evidence. And I get they have to be careful about not making these behaviors too obvious, because then you just, you know, you can just speedrun it. Like, now you don't need to gather evidence, you just analyze the behavior of the ghost. So, like, it'd be cool if you didn't need the paramic to hear the Banshee scream, but it would also kind of make it much, much easier to determine it's a Banshee. Because as soon as you heard the sound, even if it was, like, not the sound it always made, as soon as you heard it once, you'd be like, oh, okay, this is Banshee, right? Okay, so the Mimic. The Mimic will mimic other ghost types in behavior, and it will shift through it. It's not like you get there and this Mimic is set to it's mimicking a demon or a Banshee or a Wraith. It shifts through. So you see big behavioral changes, but it will mimic everything about the ghost, including, like, in the case of the demon, the early hunt. So even without the rare ability, the demon hunt threshold is 75% average sanity for the group. Most ghosts, like, the default is 50%. There are a couple other with modifiers, but yeah, the demon can hunt at 75%. So if you have a Mimic that is currently mimicking a demon and you hit 73% sanity, it can hunt. It will mimic behaviors like locking onto a specific player. It will mimic, I think it's the Raiju is attracted to electronic noise. So it will mimic that. It'll mimic the Wraith's ability to teleport to the player for ghost events. So it can kind of keep you guessing, or it can become quite obvious if it mimics the most overt behaviors of different ghosts. And, you know, you see that switch. Like, oh, we got a poltergeist throw. It's a poltergeist. Oh, wait. Now we got an Oni throw. And the big difference between those is Onis can throw one thing really far. Poltergeists can throw a whole bunch of shit at the same time. But yeah, like, you start seeing the massive behavior change. It can even mimic the twins, where it gets a decoy. So the Mimic has 3 pieces of evidence, and it's the same 3 pieces of evidence of another ghost. I don't know which one. I don't know what the pieces of evidence are. I'm sorry. Again, I haven't actually been playing. I've just been watching other people play. But then has the kind of 4th piece of evidence that it can also have orbs. Well, it does. It's not can, it does. So the Mimic technically has 4 pieces of evidence, which oddly enough makes it the easiest one to determine in Nightmare mode. Because it is the only ghost where you will get 3 pieces of evidence in Nightmare. So the way Nightmare mode works, it suppresses one of the pieces of evidence. The Mimic will always have orbs. It's like its special thing that's not listed as a piece of evidence, but it's in the description of the Mimic. So if you get 2 other pieces of evidence and then you find orbs, you're like, oh, okay, it's the Mimic. Great. But that, I don't know, I think that's kind of the coolest ghost type. They redid the journal, which is really awesome, especially if you play on solo. So all the information that is on the whiteboard in the truck is now on a page in the journal. Your objectives, the ghost name, and the little like blurb. Where on lower difficulties it will tell you if it's an everyone ghost or an alone ghost. Though I will say that in my experience playing with Sage, that wasn't always accurate. But you can now see that in the journal, and you can even see the objectives when they're completed. Like, it'll cross itself out. The other, like, really cool thing about the journal now, like, I guess 2, like, really neat things. So, when you go to the evidence tracking page, on the right-hand page, you have the types of evidence at the top, and you can either select, like, yes, I have seen this type of evidence, or you can eliminate it, which is not something you could do before. So if you've been in the location for a while, like this is a long hunt, you're not able to determine what the ghost is yet, but nowhere has gotten freezing yet, so you know at this point, freezing is not a possible evidence point. You would have had it by now. You can cross it off, and beneath all the evidence types is like a grid of every ghost type. And as you either select pieces of evidence or mark them as, nope, this is not possible, it reduces the list. It grays out the ones that it can't be. You can still select a grayed out ghost, like a grayed out ghost type, if for some reason something changes, like you marked off freezing because you're like, I've been here long enough, I would have seen freezing by now, and then like right at the end you get the freezing breath and you're like, oh shit, nope, never mind, I'm wrong, and that means it has to be this one. You can still select it without having to go, you know, uncross out freezing. However, important point of note, you still need to select the ghost type. So even if after you enter in the evidence you found, it is narrowed it down and it can only be one ghost type. If you don't select it and leave the map, you won't get your credit for determining the ghost type. Oh dear. They usually travel in packs, but okay. Judging by that truck being stopped there, that... Anyway. Then on the left-hand side of the book, on that page, is just a list of all the ghost types. And if you select one from the left-hand side, it will change the page on the right-hand side to be the description of that ghost. So you don't have to scroll through the book anymore to get to, like, whichever ghost you're trying to look for to see their description and, like, read their strengths and weaknesses and check their evidence types and everything. So if you're seeing a behavior that you're like, I think this might be an Oni, you can go see what the evidence types are for the Oni so that you can, you know, make sure you have the equipment on you for finding those evidence pieces. So they made the journal so much more efficient. There's like, it's almost like Post-it notes hanging out of the top, and you can tap through it that way. So you can just go to your photos, so you can see, like, oh, how many photos do I have left to take to get, like, full photo credit? Did we get the bone photo yet? Kind of thing. And then, of course, they reworked. So, new evidence types. I guess we should go into that next. There's now a dots projector, which, so, this was a thing, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago. Back when the Xbox Kinect camera bar thingy was, like, a big fucking deal and was, like, pretty new. There was this thing going around that, like, you could hack the Xbox somehow to, like, see through the camera, and it, you know, projects like a, almost like a dot matrix grid, and that's how it maps player movement. And there was a thing that, like, paranormal investigators could see entities on this. Like, it was a whole thing. I used to watch a lot of Ghost Hunters. Like, it was fascinating to me. And, you know, doesn't every kid dream of one day demon come and drag him off to hell, or is that just me? Anyway, so that's kind of what the dots projector is. It projects like a laser grid, and you can see the entity move through it. Now there is, I think it's the Goryo. You can only see it move through the dot grid if you are far enough away. So either you have a camera in the room and you go look from the truck, or if it's set up in such an area that you can still have line of sight on it, but be outside of the quote-unquote room, like the area that is considered the ghost room. Because some locations it's not so clearly defined. Like in the houses, sure, each room is a ghost room, and like the hallways are segmented in their own ways and everything. But in some of the other maps, especially like the campsite, or the campground map, which is one of the newer maps, it's not as clearly defined. But anyway, yeah, if you can set it up so that you can have line of sight on it, but be outside of the area that's considered that room, you can see it. But usually you gotta, like, set up a camera and go watch the camera. They have changed the camera. So now it's like the camcorders back in my day, where it has the panel that, like, flips out from the side with the little view screen. So you can actually see dots while you're in the house. It used to be you had to set up a camera in a room and go sit in the truck and watch the screen. But now with the little viewfinder thingy, viewport thing, you can, like, see it as you're carrying it. Also reduces your need for a flashlight, because you put the camera on night vision and walk around with it, and you can see through that view screen. I know they've added other evidence types, and I'm just completely blanking on them. They merged the old motion sensor with the infrared motion sensor. You used to have two different sensors, and they serve different purposes. you would usually, like, there was a motion sensor objective that you could get. And for that, you needed, like, the actual motion sensor. The infrared ones, I don't think, counted. And then the infrared motion sensors would light up when something broke their sensor plane. And you used to kind of have to use them in tandem, because on the regular motion sensor, it would beep in the truck. Like, you could see the line that was its plane of observation, and the line was red by default and would turn green, and you would hear boop if you were in the truck with the motion sensor set up. But if you were in the house, the only indication you got was the little light on it would turn from red to green. So if you weren't, like, really watching it, you would miss it. Whereas with the infrared sensors, they, like, light up. So you didn't have to, like, specifically be sitting there watching the sensor. So they've now merged that into one item, which I think is pretty cool. It improves the utility, and yeah, it's pretty nice. They've done a lot to try to, like, make the paramic not suck. It still kind of sucks. There are some ghost sounds you can only hear through the paramic, but that's like it. It's still a completely unnecessary piece of equipment. What else? The glow stick now dims over time after you activate it, whereas before you would, like, activate it and it stayed lit for the entire mission, which, I don't know, in my opinion, was actually more realistic, because generally, even a long contract, except I guess maybe on the bigger maps, only took like half an hour. And I bought glow sticks from the dollar store, and they glow brightly at least that long. Assets. That's the word I was looking for before. They were using the pre-made Entity assets, and, you know, now have all kinds of cool custom shit. I know there are other new evidence things. The ghostwriting, now instead of the shit just appearing in the book, you'll see the pen actually hovering over the book and moving around like it's writing, so that's kind of neat. Which means it's actually much easier to see if there's writing if you are a scaredy cat like me and like to set up, you know, go in and set up your equipment and then set up a camera and go watch shit from the truck where you're safe. You can watch and, like, you'll see the pencil move and you're like, oh, okay, we got ghostwriting. And you can see the dots like that, and you can see the orbs, of course. What new pieces of evidence am I missing? Oh, this is gonna bug me. Because I know there's got to be at least one more. Still, EMF 5 is an evidence type. They did, you know, they worked on the EMF reader, but there really wasn't a whole lot to do with that. Like, you can only change the appearance so much. The thermometer looks a bit nicer. The candles definitely look nicer. But yeah, a lot of neat changes to the game. Like I said, I'm pretty sure it is too intense for me now, but I will still watch streamers play it. People who are much better than I am. So I'm still getting enjoyment out of it that way. But I'm excited to see where they go with it. I had posed before that it might be neat for them to add, like, an exorcism component to the game. And I think there may have been a chance of them doing that previously. I'm not sure now, because there were two other similar games, but only similar in so much as you're going into a haunted location and basically hunting a ghost. But the general feel of the games are very much different. Obsidio and Ghost Hunters Core And in both of those, like, you gather evidence, determine the ghost type, and then that informs what you need to do to cleanse the location, and you have to do that to complete the contract. Or as Phasmophobia, like, you have your objectives, and the first objective is always to determine the ghost type, and that's it. Like, that's what you do. And then, you know, you try to find the bone and fill out your photos with all 3-star photos so that you can get max payout. But there is no exorcism component. There is no, oh, and we need you to find this thing or anything like that. And I don't know. There are a lot of ways that these games seem to take inspiration from Phasmophobia, which I think is cool. Ghost Hunters Core originally was using the same font, which, okay, that's a little tacky. But I might do an episode on Obsidio. I have never played it. I will never play it. Straight up, I know that game's too hardcore for me. But it is one of the games that I actually really enjoy watching Insim play. And it's pretty neat. It's a lot more intense and a lot more intensive. Ghost Hunters Core has improved a lot, I guess. But I don't know. I can't take that game seriously because in the early access, like, it was so fucking buggy. I think it's still in early access. But, like, when they first put it out and asked people to pay money for it, it was so incredibly buggy. Like, it was pretty ridiculous. That it's, like, Insim dies, not terribly frequently, because he's, you know, really good at the games, but he does die when playing these games and everything, and he generally is like, haha, this is funny. Every once in a while, you see him get a little frustrated about something, like, I got this ghost, it's not giving me any fucking interaction, this is making it impossible to determine what kind of ghost it is. And, like, I just want you to do things. But in general, he kind of takes everything on the chin. But even he, like, rage quit Ghost Hunters Core a couple times. Because he's like, oh, so this bug in the game just fucking kills me. That's great. That's awesome. And, yeah, in Phasmo, like, there are ways you can get yourself wedged in certain places that you're not supposed to be in. So then you can't get out. And if the ghost starts to hunt you, like, you just die. And he's like, okay, well, I probably shouldn't have been fucking around there. But, yeah, like, with Ghost Hunters Core, he was getting incredibly frustrated playing this game. Because, like, there would be bugs that, like, cause the evidence to be wrong. And then you don't get paid for the contract, or you die. There were bugs, like, with the ghost not sensing the protection items, right? So it just, like, walked right through them and killed you. So, I mean, these were more than, like, haha, look at this. Like, the one map, he figured out a way to get behind the scenes. And went walking around on, like, this mountaintop. And he's like, this is funny. And he enjoys, you know, shit like that and, like, showing off these, you know, kind of funny little bugs he's found. But, you know, so there's bugs like that it's like, oh, look at what a pickle we got ourselves in this time. And then there's bugs like, I played the game how it was intended to be played and couldn't. And that's how Ghost Hunters Core was. I think they have done a lot of improvements since then, but, like, I just can't take it seriously because it was so bad when it showed up. But Obsidio looks really cool and kind of makes me wish I was a braver person, I guess, because it looks like it would be fun to play if it wasn't so terrifying. So I might do an episode on that. Next week's, like, probably gonna be the kind of episode you can straight up skip, because it's like gonna be a personal one, I think. I don't know. I haven't quite decided if, like, I want to, but anyway, that's where we're at. As always, if you made it this far with me, thank you very much for listening, and hopefully I'll talk to y'all again next week.